we worthy of redemption? That is the question. So I know all of us at some point in our life have made a mistake that still haunt us today. It could have been done out of malice, it could have been done on accident, or just because we didn't know any better at the time and we totally regret it. Um, Sometimes our actions because of our environment leads us to end up in jail, leads us to um, lots of different things, lots of different paths that we didn't imagine we were going to end up in. But the reality is that we ended up there. So a lot of a lot of us, I think, are often very focused on surviving, focused on surviving, making sure we have a job, making sure we have enough to eat, just whatever it is that our body requires. And we don't spend a lot of time thinking of whether or not we should forgive ourselves, forgive other people. Um, and sometimes we might even go as far as thinking, well, I have been such a horrible person in my past life that I am not worthy of being redeemed, or I'm not worthy of having love. And sometimes, even if you haven't really done anything that can be considered like super bad, like we may still have that idea because of the way that we grew up, the ideas that society puts in our head, the things that we heard while growing up. Sometimes our self esteem may be so low that we just have this idea of um, we're just not worthy, right? Um, have you guys seen Hazbin Hotel? I would try not to spoil a lot of these, but I am going to talk about individual characters. So, oopsie. This one is on Amazon Prime, and in January they're going to have the new season. So, again, highly recommend. Again, not for kids. It's animated and all that, but not definitely not for kids. It's sort of like a battle between heaven and hell, and who's right, and everything is sort of like twisted upside down. And so, yeah, anyway, I highly recommend it. So essentially, it's these one, two, three, four, five, six, like seven characters. There's more that are living in this hotel, Has Been Hotel, and it's this hotel where Lucifer's daughter, Charlie, this one right here. Oh, you guys can't see my mouse, huh? Lame. But the one that's holding the key, essentially. um, and that one, she is trying to um, redeem the demons in hell, right? So they can go to heaven. And there's this like really weird like system that is in place in hell. Like there's so many horrible things that are happening, right? But these characters, for some reason or another, sometimes we don't really know the real reason why they're like collaborating or not together. But they are together. That's the whole point. And that like the protagonist, that's what she's trying to achieve. And then so we have this toxic positivity from Charlie. Um, those who just joined us, please excuse the fact that the letters are all weird. It's not my fault. I promise. I think it's just when I downloaded them, like they shifted, like everything shifted, so it looks kind of funky. So yes, do your best to ignore that, please. Anyway, so Charlie can be a bit of a toxic positive person. She's just very positive. She just really wants to be able to change people's lives for the better, and she's in a way like really sweet but naive at the same time. And she has these grand ideas, like she can see like the best of these people she understands, and she's willing to offer them up a an opportunity for them to be redeemed. Anyway, I thought there was like a, if there's like a problem with the connection, please let me know. So I can see. I mean, not that I don't know how to fix it, but just so I'm aware, I guess. Um, yeah. So Charlie's trying her very best uh to provide an opportunity for people to change, but she is so insistent on it that she just crosses everybody's boundaries at one point. And she's just kind of like, I just really think that you would be a better person, or like if you were just to do X, Y, and Z. So I think, like, let me just help you solve the problem and do this thing and whatnot. And uh that can be toxic. Like, I think you know that, I don't know if you guys ever watched the movie, the Lego movie, where it's like everything is awesome. That's kind of like toxic positivity in a way, because it just, at some point we have to be able to have enough hope and positivity for the future, while at the same time making space for the reality of what is. Right? I can't just flat out say, you know what, yeah, I think we're gonna just get 1,000 people to like donate $1,000 before we end the stream today. That's highly, highly unrealistic. I can keep my hopes up that maybe people will join the stream and donate what they can once they're off work. Which I guess I am in California, like, I'm in California time, so that would be in about 45 minutes or so. Like, I can keep up the hope, right? But if I just insistently push, like, no, no, you can't like think of anything bad, you can't think about anything being sort of like realistic. You just kind of like push and think like everything's gonna be fine, everything's gonna be okay. Like, that doesn't lead us anywhere. It's just this sort of fake bubble that we have created around ourselves to make us feel better. But it might work a little bit at the beginning, but then it's not going to take us anywhere in the long run. So we have to be very careful. I think, when not only when you are following people on social media that might be a bit of toxic positivist, but also within our own life, like, how do you then tend to think about these things? Is your positivity like surpassing a lot of like the reality of how things are? Is it just blinding you to potential like harmful consequences, like being in a toxic relationship with someone else, or allowing other people to take advantage of you just because you want to see the best in them? That is uh something we have to consider. And that essentially is what happened to Charlie. She realized that she wanted to make this change, and people just kind of laughed at her and dismissed her. Um, we also have this character, Angel Dust, who has uh, such a traumatic life story in general. And I don't want to spoil it for you guys, so just go and watch. But the point is that Angel Dust essentially uses certain addictions as a way to cope. And I think that's, for the most part, my understanding and experience. When someone becomes addicted to an illegal substance or gambling or anything like that, alcohol, it's usually, it starts with like, I'm hurting in some way and I want relief. And if I'm high, if I'm drunk, then I don't have to think about my problems. I don't have to think about X, Y, and Z. I don't have to decide anything. So it that's kind of how it gets started, right? But it becomes very problematic if that person doesn't have any sort of support, doesn't have any other ways of coping, um with whatever problem they are facing. That's when it becomes problematic. Then it just becomes this reliance on an addiction. And of course, there is a component of, like, family genetics and all that stuff. But that's the thing. Like, that's when thinking about factors that will prevent someone from going down like the addiction path, that's what we look at, right? Like, that's what we try to encourage people, like, build a community, have people that are there to support you, have a multitude of like ways that you can cope with one situation, because sometimes one coping skill or like, you know, breathing technique or whatever might be helpful, but like a week down the road or like 3 months later it might not be as helpful anymore, so you have to switch, you have to pivot, and you have to do something else. And sometimes we're like, oh well, we want sort of like that instant gratification, right? Where like if I want my depression, my anxiety to go away, or my fear of X to immediately go away, um and I take like some sort of like medication for it and it doesn't work, I stop taking it. Or like I often hear people say, well, it made me feel better, so I felt like I didn't need the medication anymore. And I'm like, no, you felt better because the medication was working. You stopped taking the medication, and that's why you don't feel so good no more. uh so again, this is just something that can happen, right? And again, it can be something that, well, I hear unfortunately a lot of people talk about like, well, I was like 8, I was 11, I was 7, just these ridiculously young ages for kiddos to be exposed to substances, to be using substances to cope with certain things. Now, like many other uh, women out there, I do like listen. I think it's only one particular like crime podcast that talks about all this, and I really like it because they talk about like the history of like the serial killers, like how they grew up, and like all of this like the psychology behind a lot of it, right? There are a lot of their experiences, and yes, it doesn't justify what they did, but it's kind of understandable how they grew up in this horrible environment and why they started doing X, Y, or Z, right? um and so again, sometimes it's not intended, sometimes it's just so happened that maybe somebody forced you to do it, or like there was no other way to survive in that environment, and then you just addiction became a thing for you, right? And again, it's a point of shame, it's a point of uh do I even deserve redemption? We are also tend to mask a lot. Just masking. um so this character name is Baggy. And it took me a while for me to, because she's voiced by Stephanie Beatriz, who voiced or who was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I know her as Rosa, and like I was like every time she would talk, and I was like, "It's Rosa!" No, like it was like so weird, and eventually I got used to it. Anyway, but a lot of us, especially if you are neurodivergent, just mask. You just pretend to be someone you're not, while on the inside just blaming yourself for not being strong enough, not being good enough, not being X. You know, like there's just always like something that you grew up like being too lazy, or like not having enough discipline or whatever. And I'm like, it's our brains are not the same as other people's brains, so we can't, like, we just kind of have to learn how our brain works and try to go around how it works to ensure that we're still able to do the things that we need to do to have a good life, without forcing ourselves to fit into a little, like, twist into a shape that is not comfortable for us, right? Just to be able to fit in with everyone else. Sometimes we just mask the hurt because we're adults. We just mask our own emotions because that's how we grew up. We don't think about our own well-being because there's other things that are important, right? So that we wear this mask and we hide. Sometimes there is a part of ourselves that we haven't fully accepted. You often hear a lot of stories about people who don't really understand um, uh, which gender they feel more comfortable with, or their sexual preferences. There's just like this masking. Sometimes it becomes very extreme, where people start attacking, members of the LGBTQ community because they are also a part of that community, but they see it as somehow being wrong. So there's like a lot of different ways, a lot of different reasons why we may mask or pain or hide secrets from our loved ones. I mean, and like just one of the obvious ones, well, not obvious, but like, sometimes there's people out there who have two different families and they are totally masking, certain things. They're just totally hiding the truth. So this is Lucifer. Oh, wait a minute. So the reason why I have the stickers out here is because I went to this con and I got all these stickers. It was like that con where I had to do the presentation for it. And aren't these so freaking adorable? Look at him. I was trying to find this picture of Lucifer when he's like in his like demon angel sort of like self, but I couldn't, so I ended up having to go with that one. But aren't these adorable, you guys? Anyway, so yes, Lucifer, um, just kind of gave up. Essentially, I mean, he's supposed to be like the ruler of hell or whatever, but he just kind of gave up. There was like this one line where he's where it was meant as a joke, but it kind of hinted at a lot, like a deeper history, right? Than we imagine for this character, which just says goodbye depression, and like he's just basically in his house, like isolating himself, not really going out or doing anything. He just like inventing like rubber duckies or something like that. Like it's so weird. um yeah, but like sometimes we give up on ourselves, right? We're like, oh, it's too hard, I can't do it. Sometimes it's because legitimate depression, sometimes it's grief that we're experiencing. Regardless of what it is, sometimes we go through times where we give up on ourselves, and then once we start feeling better, we start our healing journey, we're doing so much good. That's when it becomes that's when we start feeling the guilt, right? Of like, I shoulda, coulda, woulda done X, Y, and Z, and then it would have been so much better. Like I didn't, like I would have be like graduated by now. I would have had a good job. I would have not lost my family. Like there's so many things that we just like end up blaming ourselves because we give up. All right. Um. So again, that can lead to that thought pattern of maybe I'm not worthy of redemption. Maybe I not someone who should seek this. I just sometimes people I work a lot with neurodivergent individuals, and I often hear things like, "Oh, I'm just lazy. I just need to try harder." And I'm like, "Yo, bro, no, like you're trying really hard already." Like, and then they're like, "Well, just I don't have any energy to do anything." And I'm like, "You know why you don't have any energy? Because you're constantly fighting with your mind all day on pay attention, do this thing, don't think about like those thoughts, look people in the eye. Like there's so many things that you have to like constantly fight. You have to fight your own brain to appear to be like functional in society or quote unquote normal, whatever that may be. And yeah, no wonder you're tired. Anybody will be tired if you're constantly like fighting yourself to just sort of like appear comfortable, right? So this is my favorite character. Wait, I don't want to Serpentious. He's just so adorable, you guys. He's just so cute and just a little bit dumb. Okay, so hold on. Let me go back a little bit and show you this family picture over here. So this character right here is Nifty, and she's just like a little chaos gremlin. She's kind of like OCD about certain things. We don't really know much about that character. Slash, I don't really remember much, but I would like to picture myself as Nifty. There's this one scene where she's just like she's told to like stab, right? Because there's like this big fight between like the angels and like the demons and stuff, so they basically tell her, hey, go and stab, and then she like kills like the main guy. I think is I spoiled it. Sorry. Adam. And then she just stabs him, and everybody's like, what? And then she's like, she said stab. So I did. And I was like, that's what I like to picture myself. Like just like super sassy, like gremlin, like doing all these things. And being like super cool. But I'm actually more like Serpentious. He's just like this, he's just so awkward. He tries so good to like be evil, but like all his inventions like don't really work. He has these little eggies that like follow him around and consider him his leader, and they're just basically like his friends, and he takes care of them. And like it's just this adorable little thing, right? So at the end, I think in the first episode he just kind of comes in and then like he's evil, and then Charlie eventually is like, okay, well, everybody deserves a second chance, so I'm gonna go ahead and give you a second chance. And Serpentius is kind of like working for it's okay. He got caught because he's supposed to be like a double agent, but he got caught so fast. And then he was like, abort, get me out of here, getting me out of here. And they were like, you're so like the people he was supposed to be working with, they're like, you're so dumb. How did you get caught already? And they just didn't even go to help him, right? So they were like, okay, fine. Like, what did you do? This he's like, I was just told. And he's not like really like evil really. So he learns how to like be better and work with people and stuff like that. And so through the season we see like his sort of like character development, and at the end it's just the weirdest thing, because he ends up dying in the fight between angels and demons, and then everyone's grieving him, but then he just appears in heaven because he sacrificed himself for his friends. And then so that, I guess, that was his act of redemption. And then that's what Charlie was going after the whole time, saying that, hey, I think these people can be redeemed. Like, even after death, they can be redeemed. So why don't you give them a chance? But then Heaven was like, no, that's not how any of this works. We don't want anybody here. Um, so again, like it's more intricate and it's like super, super interesting. So again, I highly recommend you guys watch this show. But again, so this character got redeemed, right? Because he learned, he improved himself, and he learned to see himself in a different light, which is good. So now what does that mean for us? Like, how do we are we even should we achieve redemption? Is it possible for us to achieve redemption? Hmm. Well, I have it here as the third bullet point, but actually it should probably be the first one. I think it really depends. um or you need to take some time to think about what redemption means to you, because everybody has a different idea of what redemption is, and that's when we have to sort of like acknowledge or understand whether it's a realistic sort of redemption. I know that for the 12-step program for like in AA, part of it is that you're supposed to like make amends. And if I remember correctly, I think there's the like the I don't know what step it is, but when you get to that step and you're trying to make amends, it shows you that you can ask for forgiveness, but you don't necessarily have to be forgiven. And I think that's the one thing that trips a lot of us up, thinking about, um, well, I said I'm sorry, and therefore they should forgive me. Right? I'm really, really sorry. Like, I'm honestly saying I'm sorry. Therefore, people should forgive me. And I'm like, that's not how any of that works. Like, no, you can't. Like, it's up to the other person to decide whether or not they forgive you. And you can't force someone to just forgive you. Same way as you can. Like, one of the things that I ask my clients when I'm working with them, I ask them, well, have you forgiven yourself, right? Like, for whatever they did. And if they say, yes, I have, then I get quiet for a little while and I'll be like, but do you believe it? Because I think sometimes we just say, yeah, I've forgiven myself. Because I like logically we understand that maybe it wasn't our fault. Maybe it was just a situation, it's we're trying to do better, blah, 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 blah. But we don't actually believe it. We don't actually believe that we are worthy of being forgiven, or again, seeking redemption. um Oh, just before I move on, I think this might be like next to the last slide. But before I move on, I really wanted to invite you guys to check out the interview that I did with Asher Johnson, because he has just a different perspective and his experience is different. And it's very much in what this is about, what we're talking about. Talking about like redemption and people like who end up in jail, or yeah, usually who end up in jail or prison, how he goes about encouraging them to seek that redemption, or like just to see it and believe it in themselves, right? Let's see. um okay, so once you reflected on, what redemption means to you, it's, a matter of like working on acknowledging and accepting what's happened. Can't change the past, but we can try to do better. Like even when you do an apology, like a true apology has 3 steps. One of it is being sorry for you said, like saying it to the other person, and then changing, right? Because if you're committing the same mistake over and over again and you're not doing anything to sort of like change, then that kind of becomes problematic. um let's see. Seek professional support. That's always a biggie. I think having somebody else's perspective that's not our own really does help us understand ourselves better, right? Like getting that feedback, especially when it comes from someone who is not like doesn't have any beef in, like, what whatever problem you are facing. All right, so once you reflect on what redemption means to you, you acknowledge and accept your past, which is not hard usually. And just in general, I would really, really recommend you seek professional support. And if you do decide to seek professional support, I highly, highly recommend that you have a questionnaire where you interrogate your mental health provider and ensure that they are a good fit for you, that they have experience, that the type of therapy that they do is something that you'll be comfortable with, and then you kind of like vibe with each other. Because if that's not the case, it can be very, very difficult for you to sort of like achieve any sort of progress. They released a video. I think I called it horror stories in the therapy room or something like that. And it's just things that I hear clients tell me, like other therapists telling them racism doesn't exist, or like it's just so many like horror stories that I hear. And then I'm like, in my personal opinion, um therapists shouldn't do that. Do therapists make mistakes? Yes. But this is why I think it's so essential um for us to focus on what we want and what we need in that moment from our provider, because you're paying them, you're essentially paying them. And I think the other thing is, like, if you don't agree, let them know, like, you don't agree with diagnosis, you don't agree with what's happening. um Sometimes having a conversation, it can, because I always, I do like feedback from clients. At one point a client told me, I understand what you're saying, but I don't like when you do that. And I'm like, cool, please, more of that. Tell me all of the things that you don't really like me doing, because then I can change, right? Or I can become aware. Because again, like, I'm human, we can all make mistakes. But again, just be sure that the person that you are uh, going for professional support and professional help are giving you the things that you need in the moment. And I think too, like once you get to the point, like rebuilding the trust in yourself, like knowing that you're capable of overcoming these things, knowing that you're capable of change and redemption, that's also essential. um and focus on your own personal growth. Again, sometimes how others have a different opinion of us now based on what we have done before or failed to do, we can become an utter saint afterwards. But that doesn't mean they're going to forgive us. That doesn't mean things are going to go back to the way they used to be before. And a lot of the things that I tell my clients is that, do you even want them to go back to the things the way they were things before? Because they could be just so much better. right? I think we have this nostalgia of like, well, I remember when I was little and these things would happen and my family would do this, and now as adults we don't do any of that anymore. Eh, and I'm kind of like, yeah, true, but like, is it better now? Can it be better now? Than it was before? And I think everybody changes, so like you can't like force people to like, whatever. So yes, focus on yourself, um, and just do the best that you can. I think one thing that I always encourage my clients to eh, uh, practice as part of their like new uh like cognitive reframing, or like changing their thoughts into a more positive way, and sort of reminding themselves that they did what they could with what they have. I am totally stealing this from someone I interview as one of my geek therapy videos. um so if you did if you made the choices that you thought were the right choices at that time, well, now like looking back you're like, whoa, that was the horrible choice. But at that time maybe you didn't know, maybe you didn't have all the information, right? Only thing you can do now is acknowledge, accept, and move on, right? And like try to prevent this thing from happening again, uh, by setting boundaries, putting up barriers, protecting yourself, whatever it may be. So I think what I'm trying to say with this presentation is that we are all worthy of redemption. um Maybe not in the eyes of everyone that we know, especially people that we have harmed or caused harm to in the past, whether it's intentional or not. um but I think we can become better people. And I don't want to go into the, oh yeah, well what about like serial killers? Are they worthy of redemption? I'm like, that's a different case. And I think it's just um again, what I said earlier was, just because we understand, like, that maybe a lot of the trauma change, who they were or their habits or whatever, led them down the path that was horrible and it hurt a lot of people, it doesn't mean that we're excusing what they did. What they did was still horrible, right? Can I acknowledge that they might change, that they might become better? Yeah, I think so. I would like to think the best of humanity. I know it's really hard. I know it's going to take a long time and a lot of people might not believe you. I think I wanted to just to focus more on like the everyday thoughts that we typically have about ourselves, where we think that we just made too many mistakes. I just wasn't a good parent, I wasn't a good sibling, I wasn't a good child, um and therefore I don't deserve love, or I don't deserve X, Y, and Z. I think that's what I wanted to address more with this. I don't know what to say no more. One, I'm tired. I think the 3 hours of sleep have finally caught up. To me, it's kind of getting cold. I think I might get up in a few minutes to make my tea. You guys like drinking tea? What's your favorite kind of tea? Do you prefer loose leaf or tea bag? Talk to me, you guys. Keep me awake, please. And feel free to invite other people to come and hang with us as well, if they're able to. Okay, let's see. Downloaded pictures of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Have you used the one? No, that's the one I used over there. I use this one. No! Instead of deleting the page, I duplicated it. Dang. Delete. Delete. Hmm. I forgot what I wanted. Like the whole point of me doing this this presentation was. I've been wanting to do this presentation for a long time. Um, and I just kind of forgot. Ugh, I'm so tired. Okay, I need to change the music. This is just gonna make me fall asleep. There you go. That will kind of keep you awake. I want to. I have a few more slides. Um, I don't know what else to add to it. Damn, I know I did another presentation. Or talk about balance today. Well, I think the other ones was work life balance. Is that one that I did? I think I did that one before. Okay, I did this one in the last stream, life work balance, and maybe I should do this one instead, because I think maybe I should just do this one again. What do you guys think? Because the Avatar one, I mean, it's same thing. Um, I feel like I'm going to want to make this one better because I can't think right now. Like it's coming, like half of it is good. I just don't know how to end it, and I can't really think right now. But if I do the work-life balance, I don't think anybody really watched it because it was when. So last time when I did a charity stream, I did it I did it on my birthday, and then there was like so many like tech problems happening that the audio was like really messed up, and I don't know if people were like actually listening to me. It was like so much chaos until eventually I stopped streaming on Twitch, and then I went to start streaming on YouTube, and that worked. But I don't think this this life work balance did it, and I think it's very similar um to the Avatar one. So I think I'm just gonna do that one instead. Haha. Little did you know that I was actually prepared. Gotta pivot, you guys. Gotta pivot. What the heck? Not this. Computer. Listen, um if this PowerPoint also looks really weird with the graphics and stuff, it's just this program because I just opened it and it looked good. Okay, it's not me this time. Just so you guys know. I don't know if you guys scared, but you know. You guys are being very quiet. I have a feeling you guys are just playing me in the background, which I still appreciate. Appreciate. Thank you very much. I just don't have any more fun things. I I planned this charity stream like a month and a half in advance. I did a lot more marketing for it this time around. And I like planned things more carefully. I got like really cool things for you guys. Um and even though the other one had like technical difficulties and I don't actually know how many people actually like stayed and watched, uh very, very different experiences. Well, you live, you learn, you trip, you go nap. Should we carry David along? You guys, I'm hungry. Maybe I should make tea now. Look, it's 5 o'clock. I am gonna go on a tiny itty bitty break. So I can get hot water for my tea and I guess also decide what tea I will be having. But I will leave you guys with this rock music. Rachel and this brown. And I'll call myself up. I will be right back.